Hi, I am Sarah Curtis. I am the writer and director of 2084.
We become our own demons, the thing that we fear the most to behold.
2084 is a dystopian musical inspired by George Orwell's 1984, and it uses it looks at themes of memory loss, totalitarian regimes, and people lacking communication and trying to find connection within their lives. It's a concept musical, so it's more based about the ideas than the sort of flow of the narrative. A lot of the music is very modern. It has a lot of different styles because we're experimenting with different styles, so it's a very experimental musical. So we have some traditional musical theatre moments as well as more contemporary musical theatre moments. So as the writer, I then sat down with these very vague mission goals and set out to write something, and I wrote a few scenes and a few songs. They were pretty awful, but they helped me figure out who the characters were. It was during that time that I discovered the relationship between Ian and Will. That's when I first named Felicity. And when Julia started to exist in a very minor way. Basically, I am inspired by things going wrong. So I looked around at what the world is like at the moment, and I took inspiration from that and said, I don't want the world to be as awful as it is. I want to see that awfulness on the stage, not in real life.
And it's not for you.
I'm the choreographer. I helped co-write some of the script as well, and I'm also in the ensemble. But essentially what has happened is we come into this world where war and everything has just gotten so bad that the higher-ups have decided that the easiest way to fix everything is to essentially wipe out everybody's memories to try and make them more docile and more eager to follow the flock. But there's, as always, a group of rebels who don't really want to follow the doctrine and follow the corporation, and so they fight back any way they can, and the people who are most loyal to the corporation start to question their own loyalties. I did my honours looking at dance and musical theatre at the same time that Sarah did hers, looking at lyrics, and then when we both applied for our PhDs, we said to the university, can we collaborate on our creative piece? Because musical theatre has such a rich history, not so much in a scholarly tradition, but more in the creation of it, and people learn from making musicals, and so we wanted to do it as practice-led research.
Did you hear? Have you seen? In recent history. In recent history. Oh fuck, I can't remember. Let's go. One more time.
It's been really good working with Nick again. Sarah and I have worked with Nick on and off for a couple of years. He does a lot of the music and composition for the Children's Theatre Unit and the Shakespeare Unit. We've done a few different song and dancey related, musical theatre related things, but this is the first time we've worked on a full-length composition, a full-length musical. It's difficult to choreograph too. He likes to make things very interesting, which sometimes means that he changes time signatures like halfway through a piece, and it'll be, okay, we're just gonna have a sudden bar of just 2/4, and then we're gonna go back to 5/8, and it's like, what is happening? Oh my god. It can be tricky to choreograph too, but it's also a nice challenge. It's not straightforward and simple, which is both good and a bad thing because we're kind of on limited time, but also it's gonna make for a much more interesting score.
Most of the songs, I would give him an outline, I'd give him the lyrics and say if they need to be altered and moved, that's fine. If you have to add a "the" in one of the sentences to make it scan, that's fine.
I think the fact that the music is disjointed and different and interesting, I think that kind of plays into it. So you've got it on different levels of the production. So it's through the choreography, it's through the music, it's through the lyrics and the repetition of lyrics and the repetition of musical themes. So I think that's something that really helps draw a musical together when you've got something across like multiple levels like that all kind of tie in and relate to each other. So I've kind of looked at lots of different styles because I've studied a lot of different styles. There's a bit of jazz, there's a bit of tap, there's a bit of ballet, there's a bit of contemporary coming through. I'm really interested in using dance to tell stories, so I'm really interested in styles like lyrical and contemporary, but also just use sort of general musical theatre style.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3, up, whee, and then right in your face. You look like you're puzzling this over. Do you have any tips for me?
Yeah, you know, I want to see what you do. Your leg is back here and it's not grounded at all.
Okay, good.
So you're like, oh. But if you come from underneath, it's easy.
Alright, okay.
Try again. So we're here.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice.
Whee!
That is much easier.
Ellen and I have been working together for years. We started working together very closely in 2011. Then we did our honours together in 2012, and we've been sort of part of creative teams since then. Having an original work is both amazing and terribly difficult at the same time. It's amazing because as a writer, anytime someone comes up with a great idea, I can slot it in there and go, it's canon. It exists in this world now. It is now a thing, which is fantastic because it means I can just develop ideas in the workshop. We had a lot of ideas thrown around the room, and I took those, I changed them, I altered them, I made them work for my world because I'd intentionally left things blank so that the actors could fill in the pieces to work for themselves. And I think that's important as an actor, is to be given the permission and the freedom to work out who your character is and make it your own.
Well, it's interesting because it's very different to a scripted show already, because generally if there's a show that's already been written, you can go back and look at the original production and try to get ideas of how to stage it, how everything works. But when you're working on an original musical, you have to figure out everything for yourself, and it's finding ways to do it that you don't want to be copying because you've got nothing to copy from, and it's trying to find those different points of inspiration.
My name's Will Moriarty and I'm playing the role of Will in 2084. I mean, original lyrics, original script, original choreography. It's been a great experience for me, a great learning experience for me as well.
I really enjoyed the casting process because, again, I wanted to just see what happened because I wanted to start with a blank slate and allow all of the people who auditioned to show me something I wouldn't expect, because someone might show you something that just blows you away and makes you go, that person, I need them, which happened with Deirdre, in fact. And you know, maybe next time we do the show we'll change it, and we're open to that.
Oh, sorry.
Snapchat.
Same, to be honest, because you're still light and bright and etc. And it'll be easier to highlight you in that.
And for this group here?
I think that's all still blue.
Yep. And then
Rehearsals will be your rehearsal outfit.
My main concern, especially with the dancing, was movability. I was very concerned about how the dancers were going to, and the performers were going to be able to move around the space, more so the ensemble than the leads, because the leads don't have as much dancing to do. That's why I had the leotards made for the opening number so that they were nice and stretchy and made out of lycra. I also didn't want anybody to look good, which sounds like a weird thing, but essentially the whole world's gone to rubbish and ruin. So I wanted it to come across that everything's kind of a bit raw and bare bones still while they're trying to get back on their feet again. So like the OWC vests are very simple.
it's been an interesting journey with the set design. Because we didn't have the ability to meet up very often to discuss ideas and to make sure we're all on the same page. So we didn't get to do a lot of that until we got into the venue, and then we started finding problems, which was interesting. But the design itself, because it's an original work, we were able to do whatever we wanted, which was nice. So we had a bit of a roundtable discussion about what the themes of the show were, what we wanted to portray, whether we wanted to have any juxtapositioning going on with the design and the look and what was being said. and we went from there, and we've just been building on it. So our original concept is still pretty much there, with just added tweaks to make it safer and to make it prettier.